Yeah. Okay. Welcome everyone for the airport review panel meeting for November 7th. And we're here to discuss a number of different issues and interact with the community about the problems we're still having with the airport and what we're trying to do to rally support from the township and other elected officials. I have shared minutes from last meeting with the other panel members, and I'm asking if we can just approve those minutes. Okay, motion. Second. Okay, so first order of business, since we've got a group here, a quorum, we can approve the minutes from last meeting. And Judy was here for your benefit. We've been interacting, trying to get the township to work with our elected officials and reach out to a broader community of municipalities on this side of the river that have to drink out of the Delaware and could be concerned about the PFAS pollution. And so we've gotten very little support from the PADEP or the governor's office. I got a letter saying this was a local issue. Don't bother us. And so we need more support from our state elected officials. And I think to make it not just a one township problem, Holly's suggestion was to bring more in and say, hey, did you know this was going on where they're going to be digging? They have not studied the site thoroughly, and we think we've got an issue here. So that was part of the discussion. We discussed the fact that at Harvest Day, we had a pretty good interaction with a lot of people through the whole day. A lot of people concerned about the noise and pollution, of course, but the fact that they were not as familiar with the PFAS problem, and so we were trying to bring them up to speed on that. And of course, everybody's concerned about that, which we have not taken the initiative to push for the big email yet to the township. I think or did Holly push that out? Okay, so we made a request after our last meeting to the Board of Supervisors to reach out because apparently there is some sort of informal communication that goes on in an interaction between the different municipalities. So I haven't heard back if that has been successful in garnering support from other groups, where if we have, Bristol Borough, Bristol Township, Morrisville, Lower Makefield, Yardley, and if we can all go into the PADEP and say, we need your help on this. This is a bigger group. It's not just LMT harping away at this. So that's part of what we've been trying to pursue. And we were going to see what came from that before we recommended reconvening what we call the community group, which was a group that used to meet pre-COVID. That was Steve Santiziero, Perry Warren, Kyle Melander representing Mike Fitzpatrick. We had county commissioners. We had we had supervisor liaison there, as well as some community members. And so it met every other month or every third month or so for a while, and helped bring everybody to focus and sort of have action items when they left. We feel like it's time to reconvene that group, but we wanted to do that when we sort of knew what was happening with the municipality thing. So the whole point of this being that we would like to pressure the New Jersey DEP to put a hold on excavation and construction until we know what's going on with the survey of the airport from the perspective of the PFAS, because the licensed site remediation specialist that is there, their report on what their remediation approach will be is not due till 2026. And of course, the construction will be complete or underway with no way to stop it. The excavation will have already happened. If they're hitting spots with PFAS contamination, we're going to have the problem. And then they'll say, oh, well, we'll work on it. We'll mitigate it. So we're trying to get them to see if we can stop that. We had a photo in the paper of all the politicians there with their shovels in hand and hard hats in hand, taking a scoop of soil. But you had said, Judy, that you did not see them big trucks and things moving stuff over there yet? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so that's sort of what went on last meeting, and we're still waiting to hear from the supervisors, and I don't even know if they talked about it last night. You weren't listening in last night, were you, by any chance? Okay. Okay.
They drafted it
Yes.
a while ago, right?
Yeah. From after our last meeting. It was probably from early October. Yeah. A few weeks. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So on our agenda tonight.
Can I ask a question about that? Is the plan for to just have this letter and send it out to the municipalities, or is one of the supervisors or administrators going to take it upon themselves to send out the letter and follow up with phone calls so there's direct communication?
I think the letter would go out after we found out if there was coordination with the municipalities. I think that doesn't happen through the letter. I think if there's a group, Holly was suggesting that there was some forum where they routinely met. And if John Lewis were there and was able to talk to them and say, hey, guys, you may not have heard of this problem, but I want to bring this up to your attention. And if they gave a positive response, then it would be like, okay, we send the letter and we have other signers to that letter from the other townships or whatever. So that's sort of the sequence that would happen. And I think John would be, he sent the one to the airport for the noise mitigation thing, and we never heard a response. And it was a very thorough and well-written, non-threatening letter, but of course not a word. So, okay, so that's kind of bringing everybody up to speed. Questions? Peter?
I don't have a question, but it's clear to me that we're being ignored and we have no input with New Jersey. Until they feel some pressure, however that is, they're not going to respond. And quite frankly, I'm disappointed in our township not taking a more aggressive posture. We asked them how long ago for that point?
5 weeks.
How many?
4 or 5 weeks.
Let's say 4 weeks.
Mhm.
I think we send them a notice, a letter saying that is our responsibility, since we're the stewards of this agenda
Mhm.
going forward, that we need to have a response from them. We'll pick a date.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'll reach out to the other townships, other boroughs, and explain to them what the issues are. And then now you mentioned Bristol and some other ones.
Yep.
I don't think it's just help. I think they need to understand that it affects the life, health, welfare, and safety of their citizens.
Mhm.
We are affected directly as a result of the noise. I understand that. But the PFAS is going to move right down the river to anybody in that posture.
Yes.
So we're here from my perspective, as a facilitator of information to help organize some actionable movement.
Mhm.
And unless they understand that there's a real risk to their constituents, they'll ignore it.
Yes.
I mean,
Agreed.
and so I would
Okay.
give our township a notice and tell them that unless they don't cooperate, we will reach out to other townships. And, we just had the elections.
Mhm.
People are very sensitive to ignoring groups. And when I just heard you say that about the mayor, the governor's position, that's obnoxious. It's
Mhm.
condescending.
Well, the response from Senator Casey's office was pretty condescending as well.
Same way.
Yeah.
So now we have, sorry?
Yes.
Right.
But
So
yeah.
having said that, now we have a new senator that we should approach, educate,
Mhm.
and see if we can get him energized, because it's an issue of his constituents affecting us. And we also have, what's the other one? Listen,
Fetterman.
Fetterman, who has expressed some interest. I think not we, but collectively, they've just ignored us because there's nothing to happen if by doing nothing.
Well, this is where the request for letters, if we feel like we're being ignored from the township, then we need to have the public express their concern, because the panel came about because when the airport was
Well, we know that. We
had a
were there.
huge crowd here.
We were
Yeah.
there. We did
Yeah.
that.
So that leads to action. And so they're going to need to hear maybe from the citizens who are concerned about this. So, if I'll check in with Suzanne and see where they stand. I've asked her,
When's the next township meeting?
I assume it was last night.
2 weeks.
No, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
I think we should galvanize and organize
Mhm.
and be there and vocalize exactly what's happening, our disappointment, our expectations. And, that'll be expressed in the ballot box when time comes.
Well, it probably would be a good idea to have a public information session at that, to have some PowerPoint slides.
I have no problem. Will they give us the time?
That's what we'll need to ask for.
Didn't they require that right now? The supervisors themselves?
Do they require us to come and do that? They don't require it. It's just a matter of if the community's not hearing about it, that may be the only forum for us to get the information out.
To Harvest Day, I was surprised at how many people, especially from Yardley itself, didn't realize the airport was expanding.
Right. So I'm just thinking it might be a timely thing to do, to put the word out, just kind of a review. This is where it stands, this is what's going on, and this is what we're hoping to have happen. And if we give them a heads up that's, maybe they'll have some more answers. If they have a notice that we're going to come in and do that, maybe we can get this point addressed.
Okay.
Okay, so good suggestion. All right. On the agenda, we usually ask for an update on Trenton Threatened Skies and Bram, but why don't you take off on what's going on with your group?
Well, it's a continued concern.
You might want to put the mic a little closer.
There's a green button. There's a green button.
There's a green,
Can you hear me now? Like, is that AT&T or Verizon?
I think you need to pull a little closer.
Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Continued lack of concern, continued concern about their lack of due diligence, particularly with the PFAS. The LSRP, who is on the well-known in New Jersey, has weighed in definitively that they need a site-wide investigation.
Has he made it public?
Going to make that public.
Okay, good.
If it'll be picked up. I mean, reporters are asking, they're curious. They need go-aheads from their editors that they think it's a story worth writing. So that may help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so he's going to go public with that. Going to go public with the fact that also New Jersey DEP has also not responded to him or us. And that could be joined with the fact that Lower Makefield's also getting strong-armed.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Responding to the concerns. So the township hasn't written their PFAS letter yet, but they've certainly written noise mitigation. So I don't know whether or not this article would combine just general lack of responsiveness of the airport. I don't know.
Think it should.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, they don't have the funding yet for the terminal. They got the funding for the, October 9th, they had a groundbreaking for the new air rescue firefighting building.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Rich said, I don't think they're building it yet. They just had the groundbreaking. Through social media, we were trying to share the concerns. We're pretty sure that land was never evaluated for PFAS. Very close to the Naval Warfare Center, also where they incorrectly used the firefighting foam to kill weeds.
Mm-hmm.
These are the concerns about why they have not made it clear. They, like you said, Rich, the official report doesn't come out to 2026, and there's complete lack of transparency as to what they're really doing. Their LSRP will talk about what he's doing at the new replacement terminal, which is 5,000 feet away from the ARFF. And there's never been any indication that they're looking anywhere other than at the new terminal, even though there's plenty of places on that airport where PFAS could have been misused.
Is there some reason, is PFAS good as a weed killer? I mean, you,
Foolish. You know, maybe as a foam.
I mean, I've heard you say that they were spraying it on weeds, but was that the expectation that would actually kill the weeds? So I'm just kidding.
It came out about from a Tetra Tech report. It was hired by the Navy to try to look for ways of the plume. There's a very large PFAS plume on the Naval Warfare Center, which is basically airport land now. And they're trying to identify where it could have come from. And that was one of the discussions of the source it could have.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was interesting, not that, you know, we can't get involved in the politics of Ewing and Mercer County, but we thought it was curious that some of the people who were most virulent online with mistruths about what we're trying the concerns we're expressing and the information they were sharing, but it was coming from firemen. We couldn't understand why firemen were so virulent online to us until we realized that now they're promoting one of the advantages of the airport is that this new fire station is possibly going to be shared with Ewing. So Ewing has gotten a $17 million fire station out of this.
Okay.
Whether or not that was all part of it to begin with, it was never brought up.
Mhm.
Now, I think now we understand why the firemen wanted this to happen.
Interesting. Okay.
And so either way, that's the I guess internal politics that we don't know. There's, what do you think? They're applying for they still don't have a stormwater permit for the airport. They should have had by 2011. They're still having stormwater discharge of de-icing materials and who else, possibly PFAS,
Hmm.
without a stormwater monitoring program, which they should have had 12 years ago. We've brought this up to the DEP. They said they're working on it. So these are all our concerns behind why we don't feel they're being vigilant. New Jersey DEP is not being vigilant on the airport, and they're not doing due diligence. We do see that just recently, Roger Cook does a good job of looking for the data for us. And he said they did ask, they're applying for a land use permit for the replacement terminal. It's going through the process.
The land use permit, does that cover the stormwater runoff? No.
Not very familiar with permitting, but I'm almost positive.
Okay.
I do know that the flight serve, which is the airport land that's literally adjacent to the Naval Air Warfare Center, they bought it from the Naval Air Warfare Center, and it's where the highest PFAS contamination is to be known over there. They capped it. They put a hangar service, flight serve on top of it. They just got their NJPTE, New Jersey, it's a stormwater pollution elimination system. And so we're going to try to find out if they're even looking at PFAS in that.
Mm-hmm.
Is the approval process you mentioned, is that a township approval process or is that the FAA?
The FAA is completely out of it at this point. Once they gave their FONSI, Finding of No Significant Impact with the EA, they'll have nothing more to do. Until they come back and require another EA or another approval of another project, an EA, they won't be involved. They'll do an environmental review. There'll be a CADX for their taxiways. There'll be an EA if it's something bigger. But now the approvals all come from New Jersey DEP.
Is it
Or potentially Ewing.
okay? Could either, so it's now Jersey or the township?
I don't think the FAA, the FAA basically says, we don't find any significant impact. Make sure you follow local rules.
Right. It's a Jersey permitting process that they're in there.
Judy, did the New Jersey DEP give you a timeline as to when they were going to do something?
No.
And when did we submit the information to them?
We didn't submit anything. We make requests.
In writing?
Well, what we can do is get Freedom of Information Acts. That's how we get anything from
Right.
Freedom of Information Acts. But when asking them, did they look for PFAS at the ARFF? Crickets.
How was the ask? Orally or in writing?
It was a letter from
Okay.
LSRP. It was request to the airport's LSRP, and with a kind of a very, very vague non-answer.
And they did respond.
No, the LSRP responded vaguely. Yeah, they said, you said,
But New Jersey DEP did not, right?
And how long is that? 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months? Okay. So what I'm trying to get at, we're asking, and they're either ignoring us or just giving us, answers that have no response value. And I'm trying to think of building a case, not a legal case, but an argument to our senators that in effect, they don't really care about the environmental issue involving the PFAS. And that's going to affect us, Bristol, and everybody down the road there. And our senators need to address what our citizens are going to be affected by.
no unfortunate answer from that. Bring it up here. He's not here. He's not going to be elected anymore, right?
What, Casey? Yeah.
Well, no, I would
Yeah.
reach out to McCormick from now.
Right, but their response was, well, really, the response was, it's New Jersey's issue. We can't cross the boundary of our states to find fault with their processes. That was the answer.
So, and our response to that answer was, but the river affects us, the constituents here. Your constituents are affected by what's in the Delaware River, so it is appropriate. You're not just going over there and complaining to New Jersey about a New Jersey issue. And they just told us to take a hike. They weren't going to do it.
That was Casey.
Yes.
But that argument they make is not different than when you have a polluting factory on one side of the river and the smoke comes onto our side, and their answer is, we can't do anything about it. No, under the various environmental laws that are out there, there's got to be some remediation.
Well, that's why we were hopeful that the governor's office could reach out to their side. Senators could reach out. PADEP could reach out to, just go across the river on these, to talk about these issues.
Well, we have Kim on their side, who's new,
Mhm.
and we have McCormick, who's new. Okay.
There's a lot of flux, there's a lot of pieces going on. There was a lawyer, head lawyer, who had been alerted to these problems at New Jersey DEP. He's just left. There's going to be a lot of flux over there because they're going to have a governor change next year. So a lot of the people, not that he did anything, he was alerted. And as far as we know, he did not take it up into the meetings with the commissioner, but he was alerted. So we're continuing to try to alert the different groups who should be concerned. There's conservation groups over there. There's environmental justice groups because the airport is considered to be in a New Jersey environmental justice zone. Those were the other people that just absolutely did not respond. So there's been a lot of just, the LSRP indicated from the airport that he is narrowly focusing on what he needs to do, and there's a lot of politics pushing to have
course.
to do no more than his absolute requirement. And our stance and our expert stance is that is not acceptable. That with the way PFAS spreads, the way PFAS has been misused, they need to be doing a site-wide investigation.
So the other approach, which you're already pursuing, is more of a public awareness campaign. So the politicians are going to respond to constituents complaining or articles in the paper. And so you guys are pursuing that, I know. So what we could do to help on that would be to do the township side information at a meeting. And so we can try to just raise the awareness of these issues and put it out there and hope that helps get the communities involved. Yeah.
You recall, I think last year we had some discussion about approaching some of the churches over there in Mercer and, in Ewing and Trenton. And I even composed a draft letter. And the,
We went right to the head of the EJ community.
sorry, the where?
There is I'm sorry, it's called the EJ Council, Council on Environmental Justice. I believe that is the title. It's New Jersey sponsored. We went to the head of that.
I'm talking about churches though.
Mhm.
I guess my point is that if there's churches and environmental justice communities over there, they are represented by this council.
I don't know.
It's almost like going to the constituency.
And then some said to me that you'll have real competition from the union workers who will see the jobs being at risk if there's a slowdown, and this may be part of the issue addressed by the firemen who responded and seeing their threatened, project. And I'm wondering whether the project can be completed, the fire station, without deviating from what we need to happen. I mean, if they were able to have to address the PFAS and still continue on the construction of the fire station, they may be mutually, exclusive.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I think to continue where we've come from and where we're going, where we're trying to head, is I will approach the board and say, we need action on this, and we would like to do, and if you won't, can we have contacts for how to talk to these other municipalities? And we'd like to make a presentation at a public meeting to raise the awareness of the community to what the problems are that are being faced there.
Well, how deep would you go into that? If more than PFAS?
I think we address what the, issue, it'd be not dwelling on it, but I think there'd be something about the history of it. And I think it's been enough years of put into this that I think the board would expect to hear a little bit about the noise and the pollution.
Just all the time. I just met with someone who's really affected by small planes because they have, I was asking whether they heard it. And I know people in Washington's Crossing have. The guy who's running the program over that, I think his name is Craig John, he has plans to be one of the biggest in the country. He apparently went from 3 to 40 planes. I was not aware of all this and is planning on expanding further.
Mhm.
It's getting worse or going to get worse. I mean, obviously there's issues in financially, it doesn't affect us as much, except that we're federal dollars will go to this if they get it. But all the money that they make from passenger facility fees has to go back into the airport. It can't be used anywhere outside the airport. It's built, it's been used for growth and maintenance of the airport.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if this is kind of information you want to share or not, that it's, what's the word, self-propagating once it gets going.
Mhm.
And there's not, and that terminal limits it now, but a new terminal will not limit it.
So the monies have been allocated? Have it, well, I'm saying, you're talking about the monies being used exclusively for
All I'm saying is when they
get to receive it.
however they get their 200,
Okay.
whether they're going to get it from a Mercer County taxpayer bond or they're going to get it from federal funds, that will be paid off by passenger facility fees. But the money will go nowhere outside the county. Can't be used.
So the spread of the private plane activity at the airport is there anything we can do about that, or we can only focus on the commercial?
Question. I would say the decision was made that those resources can't attack can't go after the corporates for their violations in airspace and curfew violations. In the airport, it goes back history, right? They won't enforce a curfew. They could have, there's a voluntary curfew that they, I believe, enforce with fines if they wanted to, that they don't. So no, the corporate jets, all I will say is that I've seen that the corporate jets, and I heard from Don Wilcox, are starting to very much circle, which was the concern. They're kind of going more, they're not following the normal path. I saw it actually last night also. They go more into Yardley, they go more up north of us.
So the expansion from 3 to 40 is of the corporate jets. You're not talking about,
This one, 172.
Little prop planes.
okay.
I don't, the corporate jets, they've made a lot of corporate hangars over there in the last 5 years. Huge. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merck. So that's a lot. I have been told that the corporate jets seem to be more responsive to complaints about time and height. or at least elevation. But we haven't been involved. Which it affects Lower Makefield for sure.
Mhm.
They're louder than the,
Right.
And they fly lower.
and there's no limitation. You go 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I've heard them. Okay. Uh, I think that's what we've got going. Do you all have anything you'd like to share from your experience of what's changing or fresh ideas or any comments? Okay. All right. I think that's kind of it.
I make a motion.
I mean, I hear a couple to-dos in here. It was to create a presentation for the board,
Mhm.
all the growth and all that they're doing, I guess, any plans that we've heard of. Go back again to Fetterman and McCormick, share our concerns, whoever's going to be, in office. We'll,
The municipal,
yes, are going to write an op-ed together.
okay.
Mostly in response to the Courier Times article, which was very pro-airport and repeating a lot of their mistruths.
Mhm.
You got it right, that it's a 2-gate terminal. That's what and then right after when, either way, they don't understand the nuance, that's how they got approval saying it was a 4-gate terminal.
Mhm.
So an op-ed will share concerns.
Okay. Well, I think in a presentation, we would make it clear that the Fonzie that they got was based on a lie. And that the airport has now showed their cards of what their plans are for growth. And so, I mean, that's a little bit of complaining. It's not going to lead to anything, I think, but it is part of the education process to say this is how they got to where they are.
It's also to say you can't trust them.
Yeah.
They outwardly lied about that. So what are they doing with the PFAS? And I have no trouble saying that. I
Right.
know the facts, that they lied.
Mhm.
And what do they do with the funds when they receive them? You said that they're restricted for the use and the operation of the airport. If there's a deficit in the budget of the state, whatever, who's to say they can't, by mistake or however? That's never stopped a lot of the elected officials in this country, not allowed to. And they're not allowed to lie about the applications either that they've made and the statements that they've made. So getting back to the question of their truth and veracity, they've already breached that line. So
That's where the history plays in here, so you cannot trust it.
that's exactly right. And they've never been forthright with coming forward. You've written them letters, responses, nothing. You've tried to meet with them, nothing. So if someone has nothing to hide, usually step forward and explain, and they have not.
Okay.
One other question.
Yeah.
Would it, in order to reach out to the public and get some type campaign out to the public, would it make sense to contact one of the local marketing companies that do this type of thing and ask them for some help?
It's a good question. We've never found a local one who wants to do it pro bono. And it's extremely expensive if you go out and hire. That's a lot of volunteers have helped. We've never found a professional who's impacted. We have, actually, New Jersey has. That's been some of the help, but not one in Lower Makefield.
Do you know who they use in New Jersey? The help, are they a professional marketing person, or is they just somebody good with good intentions?
Concerned about the impact on the township over there, but they're not available to do. I mean, they're very, very busy. They're not available to do what you.
To do a professional detail, okay, thank you.
Okay. Work on our actions.
Seeing there's no more business, I make a motion, do we close the meeting?
Okay,
No closing jokes, just right to the end.
just right to the end.
Well, it's being broadcast, so I don't want to,
We'll keep them clean.
You turn it-
Second,
pardon me?
Is it off?
She'll say it, I think.
We'll take guess, Peter, you second the motion?
I second.
Okay.
Good, closed.